Well, hey there, book lovers. Happy book birthday to Sugarcoated, which is my Hansel and Gretel's witch retelling. I am so incredibly excited because today we are hanging out and we are celebrating the launch of my newest retelling. I'm author k.m.robinson. I created this Hansel and Gretel dark, twisted retelling, and it is a bit of a heartbreaker. So today we are hanging out, having a little bit of a party here on Facebook, which we will then continue over onto Instagram Live in just a few minutes. So we're going to be hanging out. We're going to do some giveaways. We're going to learn a little bit behind the scenes of this story. And I have been getting such great feedback. I have ripped some hearts out with this one. And I have created what people are calling the darkest retelling that they have read so far. So just so you guys know, we're going to learn a little bit about it today, but you are probably going to need some tissues as you are checking out this fantastic story. So let me go ahead and jump in by reading the back blurb to you so you guys know what this is about, and then I'll be answering questions if you have any while we're here hanging out, and we will be doing some fun things while we're here live for the next half hour or so, maybe a little bit less, because at 10:30 Eastern, we're actually jumping over to Instagram Live as well to continue the party. So here's what you need to know about Sugarcoated. Hansel and Gretel's witch was actually on their side. Annika's job is to create a cake to match the candy-colored rooftops, nightly fireworks shows, and daily parades ending in unexpected executions for the Mad King's ball. But her true mission is to sneak a 13-year-old assassin into the palace using her gift of illusions. Hansel's job is to protect his little sister Gretel once she assassinates King Levin and ends the destruction in Candistrachen using his power over light to rescue the young girl from the chaos her influence over life and death will create. When the entire forest reconstructs itself under Gretel's command while trying to save herself from a king's guard, Hansel and Annika must put their feelings aside and ensure their plan holds true, even if it means one of them has to sacrifice themselves to protect the mission. Her illusions were meant to save her, but not everyone will survive the assassination attempt. So there's a little bit about Sugarcoated. We've got Hansel, we've got Gretel, and we know from the original Hansel and Gretel story, they are brother and sister, and they're actually a bit different than the original story. Hansel is much older than his younger sister Gretel, so he's kind of her protector. They live with their grandmother. I think grandmother. Well, I probably should have looked that one up. Might be an aunt. Yikes, I wrote this one a while ago, guys. And Annika is their friend and might be a little bit of a love interest for Hansel as well. And she has to sneak Gretel into the palace inside of a Trojan cake. And they are going to assassinate the Mad King because he's killing off everyone in the country for fun. So we've got this really interesting story going on, and I'm really excited about it. So I have to pose the question to you, what if Hansel and Gretel's witch was actually a hero? What if this had actually been a lie that the history books have told us because, well, their assassination attempt didn't succeed? What if the history books told us what they wanted us to hear and turned poor Annika into a witch? That is how we came up with Sugarcoated, and I do want to answer any questions you have. So if you're joining us live, go ahead and jump down to those comments and let me know what questions you have about Sugarcoated. And if you're on the replay, I want to hear from you too. I'll be monitoring those questions and comments down below over the next couple of days and weeks, and I will get you as many answers as possible. And like I said, we're here hanging out for a little bit, and then we will bounce over to Instagram Live to continue the party. So let's take a look a little bit behind the scenes of Sugarcoated. And little pro tip here, friends. The more you comment, the more you interact with me, the more likely you are to win an ebook copy of Sugarcoated. So I'm giving a couple away today. And if you hang out with me and you ask questions and you comment and you interact, you are far more likely to win a copy of that. So let me know who you are and if you've read Sugarcoated or not. And who do you think you're going to like more, Hansel, Gretel, or Annika? I'm going to tell you right now, it's pretty hard to decide. It really is. But we're here celebrating the book birthday for Sugarcoated, my brand new retelling, and I'm really excited because this is week 1 of a 2-week release extravaganza. We actually have The Goose Girl and the Artificial coming out next week, so we are just getting those books in for 2018. It's going to be lots of fun. So I get a lot of questions about the inspiration behind Sugarcoated, so I did want to take a minute to break that down for you. I'm very excited for this story. This was actually part of the Blood from a Stone Twisted Villains anthology, and this was all about villains retellings. So we were doing origin stories from villains. We were doing the true stories behind these villains, and some of them are heroes that the history books have lied about, which is very much where I went with my story. I knew I wanted to tell a story where the villain is not actually the villain. So back in the day, my original introduction to retellings, before I understood that Disney was doing retellings, I thought they were the originals, guys. All little kids do. But my original introduction to a retelling was a story. I think it's the true story of the Three Little Pigs, and it tells the big bad wolf's story, and he actually wasn't a villain. The pigs were the mean ones, and they kind of lied, and they kind of twisted up the truth, and they turned him into this villain, and I just, as a little elementary school girl, I loved that. I thought that was absolutely amazing, and ever since, I've been looking for villains who weren't actually villains, who were actually heroes, and the history books lied about them. So when we created this dark, twisted villains retelling anthology with 8 fabulous different authors, including J.M. Sullivan, who was here hanging out with us. Shout out. Trying to put you, there we go. Retellings are the best. I knew that I wanted to tell the story of a villain who is not actually a villain. And so I had to come up with a story. I didn't want to do like a whole great big giant series on, because that's the way I determine things. That is the way I determine how I do my projects. What do I want to turn into a trilogy? What do I want to turn into like a 6-book series? What do I want to tell short stories on? And so I knew I couldn't do the one that I had already planned for big series. Even though I had some ideas for some of those that I could turn into a short story, I wanted to make sure that I had, oh my goodness, so many comments right now from social media. Sorry if you heard that buzzing. I'm getting lots of love for the book birthday for Sugarcoated today. But I knew I wanted to tell a story from a villain's perspective that wasn't actually a villain. And I came up with Hansel and Gretel's witch, and I had to figure out what her deal was, because I didn't want her to be this old woman who tried to shove children into an oven so she could eat them. And so what was the deal with this? Well, I knew I wanted her to be younger. She had to be younger. This is a young adult story and a young adult anthology. And so I wanted to make her a good person who was helping Hansel and Gretel, and I had to figure out how she would help Hansel and Gretel. So at that point, why would she be helping Hansel and Gretel to do something, and why would the history books lie and turn her into a witch? So I had to break that down, and I figured out they had to be working together on some big thing against the government or a ruler or someone who was a villain who was actually in power and had control to tell the story the way that they wanted to and make people believe it. And so I came up with the story of Hansel and Annika kind of dating and Gretel being younger. Gretel was an assassin who was being sent to destroy the Mad King, and Annika, being a baker, this is where the cooking the children thing comes in, was the one to sneak her in a Trojan cake. And so once I figured that out, the rest fell into place. We get this swoony, amazing short story that ends in tragedy. It's a thing, unfortunately, but I'm really excited for it, and people have been responding so well to this story. And I really love how we came up with this behind-the-scenes look at why our witch isn't actually a witch or a villain, and she's actually really lovely, and Hansel has to, unfortunately, suffer a little bit. So I'm really excited for it. And that actually brings me to the next thing I want to talk about. I get asked about Annika and Hansel a lot. Apologies, guys. If you did not see my unboxing yesterday, I opened some stuff up. I had a little bit of an allergic reaction because it smelled pretty, and you guys know I'm allergic to scented things, and so I'm losing my voice today. So you're going to see me drinking lots of water. But I get asked about Annika and Hansel a lot, and why I decided to make them a couple, and why I love them so much. And you guys, if you've heard me talk about Sugarcoated, you know that I not only adore this book, but I have bumped Annika and Hansel way up on my character list of characters that I love. And so it actually, I think Hansel is like, right after my favorite guy that I've ever written. And I'm really, really excited about this because the two of them are just perfect together. They're so sweet. They're so lovely. They're not officially together when the story starts, and they kind of have to convince themselves whether they can or they can't have this relationship. And then if they do, what's going to happen? How's it going to play out? And it's just this really sweet, very swoony. There's a lot of kissing in this one. Like, if you guys think my other stuff's swoony, this is swoony, guys. I am saying this is swoony compared to some of my stuff. And that's also because of the ending. That is unfortunately because of the ending, and I'm very mean with my ending. So I had to give you a lot of great swooniness to kind of make up for the heartbreaking ending, which, I mean, isn't really a spoiler because you guys know this obviously is going to be bad because we know the original story and what the history books have said about them. And so, you know, it's going to be bad. It's going to be a heartbreaker, but it's okay. It's okay because it's actually a really good story. And I also get asked about Gretel a lot. So how cool is it that Gretel is not just this quiet little girl? In the original story, Hansel and Gretel are very quiet children. They're very, you know, they're not big leaders inside of this story. They wander into the woods. They've got the breadcrumb trail. They go and find the witch. The witch tries to eat them. Whatever, you know. It's not like it's this story where they have taken on these big roles and they're protecting people and they're protecting themselves and they're taking care of things. It is very much a story that is more of a cautionary tale. And I love in this story that both Hansel and Gretel have stepped up to become leaders in the assassination attempt to protect their kingdom. And so Hansel is basically one of the top leaders. Gretel is quite a bit younger. There's about a 5-6 year age difference between Hansel and Gretel. So he's very much a big brother. She's very much a little sister, and she's 13 years old. But they all have, not all of them, not all of the characters, but the main characters have different gifts. So Annika has the gift of illusions, which means she can actually transform things to look like other things. Thus, the candy house. Hansel has power over light and light. And Gretel has power over life and death, which is why she is our assassin. She is the one who is going to kill the Mad King simply by touching him, and she's going to take the life out of him, which is a huge, big, dramatic thing, and Hansel's the only one that can save her. But I love that this young girl has all of this responsibility put on her shoulders, but we're also not focused on her. We're focused on the person helping her. We're focused on Annika. We're focused on Hansel, who's also going to be helping her. But we get to see her story through their eyes and through the people who have contributed and sacrificed so that she could complete her mission. And I love that we've got this young girl who is kind of taking care of everybody and leading the way despite her youth and despite the scaredness that she has going into the situation. She's willing to put her fear aside and help out to protect the kingdom, which I think is so dang cool. I'm a big fan of Gretel, who actually is a big fan of Annika, and you know how young girls want to emulate the people that they love, and so she kind of wants to be Annika one day, and we get to see this almost sisterly vibe between them, but not quite, and this kind of hero worship going on here, and it's just a very sweet relationship between the two of them, and Annika is very, very good about taking care of Gretel, even though they're not actually connected in any way other than friendship. And then, of course, we've got our unique little twist to this, where we no longer have breadcrumbs. We actually have robotic fireflies, which I totally love. I needed something to kind of guide them where they were going and be able to find each other. And so throughout the course of the story, we have the forest shifting under Gretel's command. So Gretel, this girl, like, has control. She can change the way the trees are. She can grow things. She can kill things. It's amazing what she can do. And so when she's frightened, when she's trying to protect herself and Annika from the king's guard, she can actually command the forest to reconstruct itself and to change itself. But when she does that, everything has reconstructed itself and changed itself, which means people who had been able to find their way through the forest, which not everybody can, but the people who did know how to do that no longer know how to do that. They don't have access to that because everything has changed. So how then are they going to find their way back to the bakery? How then are they going to find their way back to the palace? When they are trying to escape from people, how are they going to find and connect with each other? This is where the breadcrumbs come in. And because we are a very technologically based society inside of this story, I knew I wanted to get a little techie about it, a little computery about it. And so Hansel is a bit of an inventor, and he creates these incredible little fireflies that will fly and create almost a a visual line so that you can see in the distance if a certain color is blinking, you know this person is in this particular direction and you're going to follow this trail to that particular person. So I love creating these robotic fireflies, and it's a really big, important part of this story. And I absolutely love it. Now, another comment that I get a lot is about why the story is such a heartbreaker. Well, you guys know. You know how this story ends. The witch does not win. So if Annika is portrayed as our witch by the villains, what does that mean? Well, that means things are going to not be so awesome at the end. You will need your tissues, but I'm very, very excited for it. I absolutely love it, and you guys know I don't have any problem being mean to my characters, and I am, but I give you a lot of rewards before we get to the sad part. So, you guys know I love ripping my characters apart. If you've read any of my books, oops, wrong side. That one, especially. I love ripping my characters apart. And I just did it in reverse order this time. You know, it's all good. So I'm very, very excited for Sugarcoated. It is available today. We're going to be having lots of fun as we hang out to celebrate the launch of Sugarcoated. You can actually go to sugarcoatedinfo.k.m.robinsonbooks.com to get your copy. It's available right now. We've had some great pre-orders, lots of fun things going on for Sugarcoated. And I am incredibly excited for this book to finally be out on its own. Now, like I said, it is part of the Blood from a Stone Twisted Villains anthology, which you can get right now, or you can get the standalone version of Sugarcoated and get this equally as stunning cover. I'm so excited for this. We were having such a great time celebrating, and I have had a lot of fun hanging out. I know I did not announce this very much to you guys. I kind of sent it out in an email blast this morning, but we didn't have specific times until this morning because we had some stuff pop up in my personal life that changed my schedule just a little bit. And so I couldn't commit to anything until right now. But I'm really glad that you guys joined us. Thanks so much for being here and hanging out. I am about to bounce over to Instagram Live. So in about 10 minutes, we are going to go live over on Instagram to continue the party. We're going to be answering some questions. We're going to be hanging out with people live. It's going to be lots and lots of fun. And we're going to talk more about Sugarcoated and the behind the scenes of these incredible characters and their stories. And we might just take a closer look at Candistration, where I'll tell you about what the architecture looks like, what the cityscapes look like. We're going to talk about what the Mad King is like and what his reign is doing to people and how people are just dying because he thinks it's fun. And so I am going to paint that visual picture for you over on Instagram. I would love for you guys to come join us. It's going to be lots and lots of fun. But until then, I do need to say goodbye. Thank you so much for joining me here on Instagram Live. I'm K.m. Robinson, author of Sugarcoated, The Golden Trilogy, The Jada Duology, The Legends Chronicles, Virtually Sleeping Beauty, The Goose Girl and the Artificial, The Sinking, The Siren War Saga, The Revolution of Jack Frost, Syndrel, and many more. And I'm super excited for you guys to come hang out. k.m.robinsonbooks.com, where you can get behind the scenes on all of my books. There's interactive games, there's videos, there's artwork, there's fan art, there's all sorts of amazing things over there, and I would love for you to come join me. And at K.m. Robinson Books on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, IGTV, and YouTube, where you can get more videos just like this one, and lots of fun, fabulous things. I hope you will come join me over on Instagram for the party as we continue over there in just about 10 minutes. Happy book birthday to Sugarcoated. I'm so excited this is in the world and out there for you in the public. I hope that you all enjoy it as much as I do. I know people are avoiding reading this at school and work because I've warned you again and again and again. It is a heartbreaker, but so dang good. This is one of my favorite stories that I have written. And I hope you love it as much as I do. Everybody so far has been a really big fan of this story. I've been getting such good comments from people I know and don't know. And I hope that you will enjoy this dark, twisted retelling of Hansel and Gretel's Witch as well. Thank you guys so much for joining me. You have a fantastic day. Stay inspired. Happy book birthday to Sugarcoated. I'll see you over on Instagram.com/KMRobinsonBooks. Bye.